Most people believe that the most powerful weapon in the world is nuclear missiles. They are wrong. The real power that can bring the modern world to its knees is that piece of green paper you carry with you every day, the US dollar. For the past 80 years, the global economy has been governed by a single rule. Everything is sold in dollars, and every reserve is held in dollars. But history whispers something to us. Rules do not last forever. Spain's gold, Britain's pound, or Rome's silver, they all held unshakable power until they faced the inevitable end. We are exactly at that point right now. The massive debt of the US has reached an irreversible deadlock. Giants are rising in the East, the petrodollar system is dying, and central banks are engaging in the largest gold accumulation of the last 50 years. This video is not just a herald of the dollar's struggle, it is a herald of the dollar's death and the new world reserve. When the game ends and the system resets itself, what will happen to your savings? In this video, we will examine the new candidates poised to take the place of the players behind the scenes of the financial world. The collapse of a currency does not happen suddenly. First, debts increase. Over time, trust is lost. And finally, a breaking point occurs. History witnessed the best example of this process in late 1944 at a hotel in the snowy mountains of New Hampshire, Bretton Woods. In those days, it was the British Empire that ruled the world. The British pound was the symbol of an unshakable empire's power. However, after 2 world wars, Britain's treasury was empty, and the kingdom was dragged into an unpayable debt spiral. Does this situation sound familiar to you? The situation the US finds itself in today is a carbon copy of Britain's story in the past. In 1944, at a table with representatives from 44 countries, there was now a new giant, the United States, holding 80% of the world's gold reserves. The agreement made that day would reshape the future. The dollar would become the currency of the entire world. All currencies were pegged to the dollar, and the dollar was pegged to gold. In short, the dollar became the paper representative of gold, but problems came along with it. As empires gain power, their spending also increases. By the 1970s, the US had printed far more dollars than the gold in its treasury due to the Vietnam War and social spending costs. France noticed this game by the US and demanded its gold back. On August 15, 1971, President Nixon stepped before the cameras and changed the fate of the entire financial world. The dollar was no longer pegged to gold. After this decision, the US dollar turned into a piece of paper backed by nothing but trust. If you examine the 500-year cycle analyzed by Ray Dalio, when an empire starts printing money without backing and destroys its value, it is the clearest sign that the collapse phase has begun. When the British pound lost its throne to the US dollar, the world did not descend into chaos. Power simply changed hands. As this power shift occurs, the question we must ask is this: as the 82-year-old dollar hegemony nears its end, who is trying to take this power? To whom will this torch, passed from London to Washington, be handed now? To Beijing? Or will it be transferred to a digital power through a new revolution? The only thing that preserved the dollar's dominance until today was not just military power, it was a much more strategic agreement, the petrodollar. When the calendar showed 1974, this secret agreement between the US and Saudi Arabia offered other countries an alternative less condition. If you want to buy oil, you must first have dollars in your hand. The new system created a synthetic but massive demand for the dollar. The whole world had to keep dollars in their treasuries to buy oil. However, as we reach 2026, this indestructible fortress is beginning to crack for the first time. Saudi Arabia is moving away from its decision to sell oil only in dollars. It has opened the door to trade with China in Yuan and with other countries in local currencies. This decision acted as a financial atomic bomb, lowering the demand for the dollar. Right at this moment, a new player enters the stage: BRICS. Initially appearing as just an economic group, this formation controls more than 40% of the world's population and a large portion of global oil production. But that is not the main danger. The real danger is the rebellion launched by BRICS countries against the use of the dollar as a global weapon. The seizure of Russia's reserves sent these signals to the whole world. If you cross paths with Washington, you could lose all your savings overnight. This concern sparked the largest collective rebellion in history. India began trading in rupees, China in yuan, and Brazil in its own currency. The world's largest producers and energy fields are now escaping the dollar's hegemony. So, what will be that common currency to replace the dollar? A digital currency indexed to gold? Or a new digital transformation like mBridge, where money is transferred between countries in seconds without passing through the SWIFT system? Central banks have been making the largest gold purchases of the last 2 years. Why do you think that is? They see that this war has begun. They are cutting off the gangrenous arm. Throughout history, what kills a reserve currency has always been the same: the rebirth of an alternative power and the shaking of trust in the existing power's currency. Today, the dollar is experiencing both blows at the same time. Now we come to the most crucial question. When the 82-year-old reign of the dollar ends, what currency will the world wake up to? Historical cycles and current geopolitical data offer us 3 main scenarios. Scenario 1. Return to the Golden Age. Throughout history, paper monies have always lost their value. Today, it is no coincidence that central banks are collecting gold like crazy. It is no secret that the BRICS community, led by Russia and China, is searching for a reserve unit pegged to gold. If they can achieve this, the value of money will not be determined by Washington's printing press, but by the weight of gold, which has been known as a store of value throughout history. If this happens, it could be the largest return to real money movement of the last 50 years. Scenario 2. Multipolar financial basket. Imagine a world where there is no longer a single power. A new world where the yuan and Indian rupee hold power in the East, while the euro and dollar maintain strength in the West, and perhaps a common digital asset is used in energy trade. In this scenario, the global economy will split into pieces. Trade will be more complex than before. However, it will not depend on the words of a single power, like the Fed. It will become independent. Power will no longer be central. It will be everywhere. Scenario 3. CBDCs and algorithmic reserves. This is not the currency of another country, but a technology. Central bank digital currencies are in the testing phase. However, some speak of more radical changes. A digital reserve that people cannot control, independent of politics, decentralized, and with a limited supply. If the world loses trust in paper money, could it seek trust in digital protocols, Bitcoin, or another digital code? Whichever of these 3 scenarios occurs, there is one truth that will not change. The era of "I print unbacked dollars and buy the world" is nearing its end. This is not just an economic transition. It is one of the largest power transitions in human history. What I have explained so far may seem like a problem for governments or the wealthy, but you are wrong. This massive change in the financial system will most affect the lower middle class, the silent majority, your money in your pocket. History has shown us this. The biggest side effect created by a reserve currency losing its throne is the decrease in purchasing power. If the dollar loses its dominance in the world, it will be forced to print more money to pay its debts. This means the value of the dollar will drop rapidly, and the prices of everything we import will increase. So, how will you protect your assets in this turmoil? At this stage, the wealthy flee from paper assets and take refuge in real assets. It was like this 500 years ago, and it is the same today. Gold, silver, real estate, and even digital assets with limited supply. Remember this: wealth never disappears. It silently changes hands. During the collapse of the dollar, those who foresee this change will grow wealthy, while those who remain loyal to the system may have to watch their lifelong savings dissolve and vanish. Unfortunately, history never forgives those who are caught unprepared. My aim is not to scare you, but to offer a life jacket so you don't stay under this massive wave. This is not pessimism. It is a mathematical reality. To strengthen your own financial future, you can no longer remain dependent on the central bank of a single country. Portfolio diversification, understanding historical cycles, and adapting to the changing nature of money is no longer a choice. It is a necessity. In conclusion, over the next few years, we will witness a period where not just money, but the world order itself is reshaped. 500 years ago, the Netherlands, and 100 years ago, Britain suffered these hardships. Today, it is the turn of the United States and its currency, the dollar. History shows us one single truth: no system lasts forever. However, These changes are not an end, but the birth of new opportunities. When the game is over, will you be the person on the stage or the one watching from the audience? Remember, the future belongs to those who can see it today. So, in your opinion, which power will take the dollar's place? Gold, BRICS, or a digital revolution? Let's discuss it in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications.